What would I
This
say?
is one of Ethan's favorite, the Good Samaritan.
Mom,
which is also one of my favorites.
Mom, can you delete that part?
Why?
'Cause I don't like it.
It's not about you.
It's not about
It's
you.
about the Good Samaritan.
No, it's about God.
That's right. Okay, let me
Not
listen.
you.
While Jesus was teaching in the temple, a man asked, "Teacher, what do I do to get into heaven?" "What does Scripture tell you?" Jesus asked. The man answered, "It says to love God with all your heart, your soul, your strength, and your mind. It also says to love your neighbor as you love yourself." "That is right," replied Jesus. "But teacher, who is my neighbor?" the man asked. Jesus decided to help the man by telling him a story. Once there was a man walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. Along the way, robbers took his clothes and everything he had. The man fell beside the road and cried. "Excuse me, sweetheart."
Ow.
A priest from Jerusalem came by on his donkey. The priest saw the man on the side of the road, but had other important things on his mind and did not want to take the time to help. What a jerk. The priest also did not want to get his robes dirty, so he ignored his calls for help. A second man came by later that day. He was also a religious man, an assistant to the priest in the temple. But the assistant saw the man beside the road and was afraid to help. He worried that the robbers might be nearby, so he was a coward. What if they robbed him next? He decided that it was too risky. The assistant crossed the road and hurried past. The poor man wept bitter tears because the men from his own village would not help him. He was all alone and tired, hurt and sad. Very late in the afternoon, another man came walking along the road. This man was a Samaritan. Jesus paused. He reminded everyone that many people did not trust Samaritans. Jesus explained that Samaritans worshipped other gods. They seemed different from the people of Jerusalem. He continued his story. This Samaritan saw the man lying by the road. The Samaritan did not see him as a man from Jerusalem or even as a stranger. He saw him only as a man who needed help. The Samaritan took off his cloak and draped it over the man. He wiped the dust from the man's face. He cleaned and bandaged the man's cuts. He gave him water to drink. The Samaritan told the man, "We will go to the next inn and find you some food and a place to rest." The Samaritan put his arm around the man and helped him onto his donkey. The man from Jerusalem was grateful for the stranger's kindness. He thanked him again and again. The two men walked until they found an inn at the next town. The Samaritan paid the innkeeper for a room. He kept watch over the man from Jerusalem. All night long, he made sure the man had enough to eat and drink. The next morning, the Samaritan went to the innkeeper and said, "Here are some coins. Please watch over this man. He has had a difficult journey. He needs our help. Let me Let him sleep until he feels well enough to continue his trip to Jericho. When I return, I will give you more coins to repay you for taking care of him." The innkeeper agreed to take care of the man. The Samaritan left the inn to continue his journey. The innkeeper took care of the man from Jerusalem until he was well enough to travel again, and he made his way safely to Jericho. When Jesus finished his story, he sat silently. After a few moments, he spoke to the young man who had first asked the question. Jesus said, "Which of the 3 travelers treated the man as a neighbor? Was it the priest? Was it the assistant? Or the Samaritan?" The young man answered Jesus, "The Samaritan showed kindness to the man even though they had never met before." Jesus said, "Everyone should try to be like the Good Samaritan. You must show kindness and mercy to each person you meet. They are all your neighbors, and you must love them as God has said." Helping Mommy. I tie her apron around my middle. It's too big for me, or I am too little. But I mop and sweep as I am able. I set the places at our table. A fork, a plate, a glass, and a mug. Do you remember you used to help me with this? You did. You used to.
Remember.
Remember in Guam, Mommy would cook and you help Mommy set the table for dinner? Mommy says thanks and give me a hug, and that is my reward. You are my biggest helper.
You're